Welcome to Enlightened AF. Happy Halloween. It is Halloween 2018. I'm Tricia Carr.
And I'm Aidan Demarest.
And we're here to put our microphones closer to our faces.
Okay.
I was just arguing about how Aidan doesn't know how to use the stuff. Well, we're here to entertain you, and we are here to talk about spirit stuff spirit stuff. It's Halloween. Aidan, you really like Halloween?
I do.
Yeah.
It's a fun holiday.
I can tell, yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah. And are you going to dress up today or do anything like that?
No, probably not. That was about all of it. Although I might jump back and forth between the tiara and the Dios de la Muerte skull face.
I am dressed like myself, a tomboy fairy.
That's perfect.
That's exactly what I realized when I picked this out. It was kind of like okay, this is orange, I'll wear this. Oh yeah, fairy wings. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And then I put my hair in pigtails because I didn't feel like doing anything else to it that made it look normal. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm a tomboy fairy. That's exactly what I am.
I think better costumes are ones that are like you put on a bow tie and you're like, I'm a tax collector. I think imagination is better than the actual. It's a cheat to just go get a real bitchin' costume.
To just buy one, or to go somehow as your best friend, just dress how he normally dresses or she normally dresses. That's fun. Yeah.
I like the little puns Halloween costumes that require no gathering.
What would be a good pun one? Because it's really, I remember however many years ago that this was, I think, Obama's election when we had the hanging Chad incident with that was something. And then with the ballots that the little dubers were hanging and it was messing with the counting.
Yeah.
And that was a popular pun.
Costume?
Yeah, it was like a popular kind
That's
of sarcastic
a good one.
Costume. There's so much going on in politics right now. I'm sure there are a lot of puns.
Oh, I'm sure.
Pun
and
costumes.
I'm sure red wigs are off the shelf, right?
Strawberry orange.
Orangutan wigs. In fact, I miss the days though when you I don't know how you did it, but we just went down into the basement or the attic and dug around. Afternoon of, found stuff like overalls or my grandfather's pilot costume, uniform, and just that's what you were.
I was a cat every single year, so that was pretty easy.
Okey-dokey.
I just put eyeliner wings on my face.
You had a signature costume.
You almost said cocktail.
Signature cocktail. That's the only thing. I had a signature cocktail.
You did when you were 7.
I actually have a car full of booze right now. I know. It's
I do all the time. Yeah.
I know, but it's a nightmare. I'm like, how about just all this Captain Morgan in the backseat of my car?
The vanilla.
Maybe I should go as the pirate.
Go as a pirate,
and just bring handles of Captain everywhere I go. Just marauding people's spirits.
So we are enjoying Halloween. I was telling Aidan yesterday about how Halloween is a very psychic time. And I don't know. So if you're someone who doesn't really know what they think about this spiritual connection or psychic stuff, I encourage you to just pay attention to how things work for you around the time of Halloween and holidays like this. The thing is that it isn't necessarily all good stuff. It could be mundane. It could be just really odd coincidences, which are really synchronicities. Or it could be you thinking that you saw something out of the corner of your eye and you're like, oh, it was nothing. The veil is thin, as I started to talk to you about yesterday.
And is that a calendar year? Yeah, we did. We talked about this yesterday. And it is sort of a spookier time of year. Mm-hmm. I always just figured because it was fall and it got dark early. I grew up in Boston, so it's it was always crispy leaves and it got dark earlier. It started to get cold at night and things started to get spooky. Never mind the fact that I lived in an old spooky New England town where they shot Amityville Horror.
And and also
every house was haunted.
And also all of the Salem witch trials that occurred.
Too.
Yeah.
The pilgrims.
All of
just
the death.
All creepy
all
white
death.
People wandering around a few inches off the ground. I think the town I grew up in is the town in every horror movie.
So the night before last,
except for Poltergeist.
The night before last, we woke up at it was 6, but 6 is morning, but it's really dark. It's 6 a.m. right now, and we awoke to a woman talking, and Brian and I were both sleeping really hard, and at first I thought it was my neighbor talking, and her backyard is near my bathroom window, and I thought, oh, that's so weird. She's never up this early, and how clearly I can hear her talking. But then I woke up even more, and I was like, that does not sound like her voice. But I went in to close the window where nope, that's not her. It's not the neighbor. And so I walk out into the hallway. Again, it's dark. Even though it's 6 a.m., it's really
and
dark.
Brian's hearing this too?
Yes, Brian, yes. Yeah, no, you always have to check
I'm like,
it.
wait, what?
And I'm creeping into the hallway, and then I realize it sounds like my mother-in-law's voice. My mother-in-law lives in another state.
Right.
And I was like, is Brian? No, he's definitely in bed. And then so I looked down. I was like, did somehow a message from his mom start playing on Brian's phone? That's so weird. No, it's not that. And so I start creeping down the hall the other way where I can hear it, where it's coming from. And it's my mother-in-law is very sweet. So it's a very sweet woman. And she's saying, oh, hi. Thank you so much for joining. Oh, thanks for coming. Hi, honey. Nice to see you. Oh, it's so nice you could join me on the weekend. I know, this crystal's really pretty. Wow, well, we'll just wait for some more people to show up, okay? Hi, everybody. In my living room.
And what was it?
So it was a friend of mine, Amy Robinson. Hey, Amy, if you are here. On Facebook, she was doing a Facebook Live. It was an old replay of a Facebook Live. It wasn't new, but for some reason, it spontaneously started playing on my computer. And there's no reason for it to. I mean, sure, maybe I had a tab of Facebook open, but why did it start playing a video now? Why not like 8 hours ago when the computer was left open?
How weird.
Super weird. And then as I was approaching, I was like, as I recognized what was going on, I still thought, shit, this is exactly what happens in horror films. There's like a doll like crying and it's just the baby doll. Then you turn around and there's a clown with a knife.
Or that girl, Amy.
Amy. And
Amy is in your living room.
And I was
blood all over her.
She was like, when you're doing Facebook Lives, you're addressing the people who are joining you. You could see their names.
Okay.
And when you're watching one as live, you feel like they're talking to you. But in that moment, I was listening to a woman talk to herself. It was super creepy. If you can, Brian's like, I'm picturing a woman in a haunted house combing her hair and looking in the mirror saying, hello, thank you for joining me.
That is just like if you have kids and they have all the stuffed animals and the talking things, for some reason they go off like in the middle of the night and a creepy
it's spirit activity though. Yes.
Thing happens.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's super creepy. And there's always one that just goes off like at the weirdest time deep in the night and you're like, what is happening? And it sounds super haunted
creepy.
And creepy.
That's what I'm saying. My friend is really, really sweet. But if you take something really sweet and put it in like an eerie, and it's so much eerier because she's sweet.
True story.
And so, but the thing is, that is spirit activity. When things spontaneously happen, lights, messing with the electricity, being able to finagle that. And
so you think somebody's trying to reach out to you with that?
I think the veil is really thin. And I think, that kind of activity, I did need to speak to Amy the next day. So it could also be my vibration, which kind of triggered that specific thing. But I do think it's an earthbound or something like that. Just trying to get some interaction.
It's like your to-do list is starting to chatter to you in the morning.
Well, I mean, it's a combination of both. Yeah, exactly. Maybe it was actually a very helpful earthbound spirit.
That's the thing. It wasn't like the IRS call. Like talking to you in the living room.
It could It could also have been an elemental being really kind and helpful, saying, "Call Amy tomorrow."
Yeah.
So anyway, we're having a Hollywood Halloween today.
Yes, we are.
Yes. Oh, actually, let's say 323-524-2599 if you happen to be watching live.
Yes.
Follow
Halloween.
us.
People are probably crazy today.
They could be.
Gathering candy and carving pumpkins.
Or keeping the windows closed so the children don't knock on the door. That's what I do.
I hope you get egged.
What?
And TP.
There's plenty.
Trick or treat.
There are plenty of houses.
It's in the
with people.
It is a disclaimer. That's a legal, like binding thing. Like trick or treat. Break out that treat.
It's legal.
Yes.
Yeah. And those 5-year-olds are going to get litigious.
My car is what you're saying.
I don't care.
Yeah.
My car needs a soap, and it's so dirty.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't clean it, soap it. It's like soap that doesn't come off.
323-524-2599. I also want to say, do follow us on social media. You can find us at Enlightened AF Pod. We are on Instagram. We are, Aidan.
I think I did it correctly today. I'm on Facebook, and I put up our stuff.
We have a Facebook group, and yesterday we should be going live in our Facebook group sometime and cut up with folks.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
Scary.
People inside the magic box?
Yes, exactly. And but follow us, and we hope that you will subscribe, like, share, comment, review our podcast.
Oh, now I'm like looking at all my sister's Facebook things because I'm open to Facebook.
Great.
Look at how funny she looks with her face painted.
Nobody's looking at it. Okay, your sister's got a face painted.
Doesn't she look cool?
That's adorable. Okay, but let's talk about Halloween.
Hey, we did homework.
Halloween in Hollywood. Yesterday, we visited a cemetery, and it turns out Aidan is the docent of the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. I didn't know. We have a little we have a little video footage for you guys, so watch this.
It's right down the street.
An expert.
Forever Cemetery, which is right in the heart of Hollywood, right down the street from our studio where we shoot. And in here is Valentino, first of all, a silent screen star. Mickey Rooney, Jane Mansfield, all the people, right? Johnny Ramone is in here, and a bunch of silent screen actresses like Virginia Raft, who was killed by Fatty Arbuckle in a huge scandal in the 20s. We're at Valentino right here. This is the grooviest cemetery in the middle of the city that has been here for 150 years, and it has like the farmers that settled Los Angeles all the way through all the movie stars up until like the 80s and 90s when it fell in disrepair, and then they just brought it back all to life. But little known fact, I used to bring my kids here and tell them that it was the park, because I really didn't like parents that much. So I felt like, until they had the horrifying realization that there were bodies underneath the ground at the park that we played at with the dog for years. It was awesome. Hey, you know what? At least they weren't weirded out by cemeteries later.
Or dead bodies, I guess.
Maybe more so.
Aidan brought me, when I showed up late, and Aidan was already here, and Aidan's giving me a tour because he's an expert since he traumatized his children. And it's a joke.
All right, introduce them to the spirit.
The first person you mentioned as we were walking in, it was this area where there's a shrine. This right here
For
is
Rodolfo Guglielmi.
Yeah, this is Valentino's.
Who still gets fresh flowers and fresh lipstick kisses on
I'm going to do
grave.
one. I put on this lipstick. I didn't even realize.
Almost 100 years later, this guy still has fans that bring fresh flowers. And this isn't just for Halloween. They're always here.
And so when he was like, here's Rudolph Valentino, I was like, that's so weird. I connected with Rudolph Valentino yesterday, mediumistically. It was so strange.
Are you going to connect with people today while we're here?
We'll see if they want to.
I want to hear some
I'm going to go sit on the grass, okay?
Now they're setting up Halloween parties here, which I have hosted a Halloween party here in the past. And it's a big, huge Hollywood shit show later on tonight, I think, which is a weird anomaly for, or what's the word, when it's juxtaposed to what this peaceful place usually is.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
Because now it's a creeper.
But I was telling everyone how I connected with Rudolph Valentino yesterday, synchronistically, the day before. I mean, like, who thinks of Rudolph Valentino? But I was actually, I was...
this lady who drops off flowers.
Yeah, well, I was writing a cocktail menu, and there's a cocktail called Blood and Sand. And I was like, blood and sand, and I was like, all of a sudden, just like...
Which is delicious, by the way.
It is delicious. It's a Scotch cocktail, but it started just like flooding into my consciousness. I mean, it's a pretty typical classic cocktail that people are using all the time. But the story behind it started flooding in, and I was like, wait, what's the story again? And I was like, I know it was Cary Grant's best friend. Like, it wasn't, energy was starting to seep in, and I was like, oh, it was Rudolph Valentino. So basically, the cocktail cocktail Blood and Sand was made for Rudolph Valentino to basically market a film called Blood and Sand that he starred in. And so then I was just like...
Based on a book.
And
right?
and then I was just like connecting with Rudolph Valentino and saying how lucky it is that you had that name. And he's like, well, it's because I'm Italian, which I didn't quite know, but now that I see the Guglielmi, he's like, so, and and it was Rodolfo, does it say that? He said that yesterday. It was Rodolfo Valentino, and Valentino is just a saint, and just basically talking to me. Sure, it translates into something really romantic, but it's actually quite common for my culture and my background that I came from. And I was like, oh, okay. So I already connected with one of the ghosts.
Oh, before you even got here,
one of the spirits. Yesterday was
you did your homework.
I did.
Since I spent like 25 years hanging out here, I guess I did my homework too.
I did it yesterday.
I am one of the creeper people from here.
You're one of the creeper people here. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah.
You are. So there's creeper people there? Because Aidan loves, it's beautiful too. It's called Hollywood Forever, in case you didn't hear it. It's in Hollywood. not even 5 minutes from here. It's like
2 minutes, you can walk.
exactly.
Yeah.
A couple of blocks.
That was a good idea to go there.
It is great. And so there are people that kind of haunt it, like human people that haunt it.
Yeah, there's human people that are there. It's funny because I was always there, like I said, with the kids, like at studying lines or like just killing time after school before I had to go pick up another one or whatever. And but there's people who like go, and none of those people could be, most of the people have been dead like 50, 60 years. So there's fans that go still and like sort of haunt around the, and I mean, maybe really family members. I don't know because I don't know their stories. But
yeah, could be.
there's a lot of people. Nowadays, it's like way more of a tourist attraction.
It
and
is.
There's like a tour, there's like haunted Hollywood tours and stuff like that. But before when I started going, it was like super beat up. And there was a whole bunch of Russian graves over to the right, and then the movie stars and the old homesteaders. But it was like they actually found a skull what the guy did was sell off a part of it where that shopping center is on Santa Monica, that like beat up shopping center that's right after the entrance. That used to be cemetery too. And because they were broke, he sold a piece of the land. He used to throw parties in there, this owner.
Yeah.
And like actresses and everybody who hung out, he was like a total player. And he sold off a portion of the place and they put the shopping mall up. Well, he had just taken down the headstones and sold that portion of the land of like the old homesteaders that nobody came to see anymore.
Oh my gosh.
So then they started finding bones and stuff, totally poltergeist. Like talk about like who knows? Paramount, where we are right now, could be part of the cemetery.
Well, you know
he
what?
Sold all that land.
You've made a good point when we were walking around. When you said that your son realized that there were dead bodies under the park that you had been taking them to.
He's like.
That basically everything is kind of dead bodies. Everything is
every grain of sand.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, what is flowing through your car, the petroleum, it's dead body stuff.
Wow. Yeah. No, the whole planet is a cemetery. Like, I mean, we've been here forever, and before us, so whoever was here. Everybody's yard is full of dead people, right?
Yes, and the thing is, the actual cemetery.
Just creeped out everybody.
Like, I know it's funny. Well, when I kind of tell
the potted
people,
plant in your living room
is dead bodies. People
it has
sometimes,
to be, right?
We're right here with 4D. And that is where something like ghosts would exist. It's just basically the here and now that's not physical or less physical than we are.
Yeah.
And so I always kind of understood that even before I was like open to using psychic abilities or whatever. And so when someone would get scared of a place because it had a ghost in it, or get scared of something that was a picture of a ghost or some kind of manifestation of the spirit world, and I didn't understand why that scared them or a particular place did, because it's all right here. I always kind of understood it had to do with what you decided to experience because it's all here. So it is your vibration. It's your frequency that you're sending out. So yeah, there's all kinds of everything right here and now. It's all overlapped.
Right?
In the cemetery, I think that it really, I felt love. I felt people coming there. There was grief and there was a kind of melancholy, but I felt a lot of love. And I feel the veil thinned there, possibly because it is that time of year. But I think it's also because there are so many people going there to experience their loved one. And that's what they have the headstone, and they are sentimental about the fact that their physical body is there.
Yeah.
And so they're really invoking their loved one's spirits.
I think that I love cemeteries, and wherever I go, whatever city I go to, I always end up in one. I don't know why. I mean, not always, but when I was on the road a lot, even in Paris, everywhere, I always wanted to go to cemeteries. New York, and little towns. Like, I love old little town cemeteries with super old headstones. I don't know what that is because it's not really spooky to me.
No, I don't think it's spooky either.
There was a ton of them in my town. I know that. So that was where the kids partied too. So they kind of are good times.
Well, kids think that cemeteries are creepy, and they just they want to feel something, and then they go and they get felt up there.
Yeah, and drink.
Yeah,
good times. Imagine like that's the curse. Like, I mean, first of all, imagine if you really were stuck in there. I don't think that. I mean, like the ghosts aren't all in there. The people that are buried there.
Yeah, no, of course
that
not.
would super suck, right? If you just had to watch kids drink 40s and have sex, and like, or out here probably shoot up. and like, or whatever happens in cemeteries. Imagine if that was your lot.
And you had to sit there.
That one's really pretty, but it's really for the people who are just visiting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember reading in that place that like the average lifespan of people to go visit cemeteries. So people put up these giant mausoleums and tombs and, benches and all this stuff, and that the average person, even with a big family and everything, has a 3 to 5 year visitation.
Well, yeah, because people need to move on
and then they
from
die
the dead
or move
body.
on. So they've got this big giant headstone and all this stuff. And 3 to 5 years later, either everyone is dead or like they just don't get to it anymore.
And you buy a plot and you buy it outright, or do you pay rent? I mean, I guess
you buy it outright.
And then it's
and
forever?
You don't pay any HOA or anything.
Yeah, and it's forever. So
yeah,
then,
did you see them for sale there? Right next to Valentino, there was one for sale.
Oh, I didn't notice.
And you can buy them. I kind of like the idea of the crypts.
Ugh,
you
that's
just
so
get
creepy
stuck
to me.
in a crypt.
And it's just
Probably full of spiders too.
It's just like, is it temperature controlled or something like that?
No. Why?
And how do they keep it from smelling? It's all
they're
embalmed.
all freeze dried.
Oh, and so it's just, oh my gosh. Actually, I'm super morbid curiosity for things that creep me out.
What it looks
like
Would
those
you like
really
to wrap one up.
Those mausoleums that are really
I
old.
would like to see an embalmed person 100 years later. Do they stay perfect?
No, they probably don't stay perfect. They definitely dry out on the skin and everything, but how creepy must it look? And all those chemicals
Well,
then?
everyone talks about that, how creepy that is, worms and stuff like that, but how about getting cooked? I mean, this is a really dark conversation.
Oh, I think cooked is great. You mean
just getting
cremation?
Cremated, yeah.
Oh, that's my choice.
Well, I think we don't have any more room for all these giant I mean, we'd be paving the whole city over if we put the cemeteries up.
It's just
I think it's a thing
ridiculous.
Rapidly becoming a thing of the past to have a coffin and all the stuff.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's like I don't know what the odds are, but I think it's like I mean I don't know what the statistics are, but I know that California leads cremation is what everybody's doing.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I think it's my pick, like I said, because also what they do to the bodies is so creepy, and the embalming fluids are horribly bad for the environment. And then what? You're just going to put that in the ground, or I don't know.
Well, here's what I just
or
don't
on a
want.
wall.
I don't want somebody else to dress me and do my hair at the end.
And glue your lips together?
Yeah, and they do that thing.
Yeah.
And your face is all sunk, but then they've got this weird peachy rosy skin.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen it?
Yes,
You look like
yes, I've seen a couple.
Oh, I've never seen it look good.
The first time I ever saw.
She looks so pretty.
The first time I know.
She looks like
exactly.
herself.
She looks, yeah, exactly.
She looks like a meat puppet stuffed into a dress.
It's so
horrifying.
My mother's always had a phobia about what happens to her body afterward. But she also had a phobia about being buried alive. So she wanted to, she had all this, it changed over the years. I hope she's gotten over it because
of being buried alive?
Yes.
Oh.
But she also didn't want anyone to see her after she was gone. I think she was traumatized. She was raised by aunt and uncle that was basically like grandparent age. And so she always had to go to funerals when she was a kid. And it was so funny when she was a little kid. So when she at some point in her life, when she was a little kid, she thought that breaking your hip was like a terminal disease because every person
that
she knew,
right after.
Yeah, they break their
was
hip,
a thing.
And then they would die. So
it
she
is
just
sort
thought
of
it was
the
like
precursor.
she thought it was like having a heart attack or something.
It happens with dogs too. I mean, like, it is a precursor. You're kind of lame.
The bones are exactly. The bones are giving out.
Giving out.
Mm-hmm. Some people. Don't freak out if your mom just broke her hip. You can break your hip and live beyond it.
I remember always hearing this story from my family when I was a kid that it was like a really good ritual that the Native Americans would just in the spring and the winter they would cross the river, and the old folks that couldn't make it across the river, say like that was the benchmark.
Well,
they just left them because
I've never heard that one. I've heard. Have you heard of the?
It's like a really nice way to cull the herd.
The indigenous Eskimo, I think. Or somewhere that's an indigenous, really cold climate.
Inuit.
Maybe it's Inuit. That they would put the elderly out on an ice floe.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye. You're not contributing anymore.
Yeah, I think you've done a good job here. There's your retirement plan.
And then in other cultures, they're revered. Elderly are revered as the wise.
I think that they were revered in the Native American culture, but obviously for the tribe to survive, for the they had to move south or north or wherever they were going, like into different lands, and like so, I'm sure they were very understanding. They were like, no, go. I'm sure they were like, go. I'm sure they weren't begging them to drag them.
Well, it reminds me now of.
But how about like an inflatable?
It reminds me of they didn't have them. It reminds me of Cats, if
Nobody threw a piece of wood out there and said grandma could float across.
mama kitties, if they have a runt in the litter, a weak one that is potentially not going to make it, she just tries to off it. She sits on it. She tries to just go ahead and kill it because it leaves. She's working on instinct, and she doesn't really kind of recognize, oh, I live in a human's house that is protecting me. She's kind of going on that primal instinct, that primal function. And if they have one that is really weak, then it will attract predators.
See you later. Yeah, I know. Let's talk about. I want to
get close to the mic.
Let's talk about Halloween, all those rituals, and the whole pagan tie thing that we talked about. Right?
Yes.
I love all that stuff.
I do. Yes,
because the jack-o'-lantern, the scarecrow, all of the symbols that we have for most holidays, but Halloween in particular.
Well, Halloween is All Hallows Eve, is what it kind of stands for, and All Souls Day is November 1st, and so what All Hallows Eve is.
What, Dios de la Muerte?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah,
same thing.
Yeah, well, All Souls Eve and All
Honoring
Souls
the
Day, Dia de los Muertos means the Day of the Dead,
which is the day that you can talk to people who have passed over. Right?
They have rituals where they actually are honoring their past loved ones, and they make their favorite meals, and they set places at the table for them, and they go, like when we were at Hollywood Forever, Chris Cornell's grave was there, and someone had put marigolds, which are las flores
de la Muerte.
It's the flore de los muertos. It's the flower of the dead in Mexican culture. I don't know if it's that, because I spilled water on it. Here, put on your princess tiara.
Gone wrong.
And yes, it's the time. And so it is thought that the veil is thin. And to your point about nature, it is actually, because nature is actually in a process of dematerializing, of a death process. Things from the spring and from the summer are now are dematerializing, and the negative, not meaning like bad, but the energy that actually disintegrates, the negative energy, is bringing down the life force energy of plants and fruit, and so that it can go to the ground and eventually feed
it's a
the ground.
Spiritual decomp.
It's
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, exactly. It's a natural spiritual decomposition process.
I like that.
And so humans naturally just put all of their honoring the dead and experiencing the dead and thinking about the dead and the betwixt and between time. At the time that nature is doing it too, it makes a lot of sense. It's not in spring when it is birth,
Yeah.
It's
all the holidays. I just think it's interesting that around the world and in every culture, all of the holidays are almost the same, and that is really like a spiritual,
evidence. It's validation.
Evidence, yeah. Like that. Like the Mayans were celebrating the same holidays as the Celtics, across the planet, and certainly had never interacted. I mean, and the pyramid, all that stuff, that pyramid, all that jam. But the fact that we have some human subconscious, what's the word? Subconscious collective.
Collective consciousness?
Yes. There we go. That one.
You're right on with it, though. It's a subconscious thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the most part.
But it's weird that the stories would have been the same, or we all came from some spaceship. There's that whole thing.
We did that, too. Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I knew I was going to tear that off with you.
Our planet.
We came from a spaceship. Where is my return ticket?
It's both.
That's what I want to know.
We're hybrid, actually. So there are the indigenous, what we might think of as Neanderthal man, and then there were the Anunnaki, or the Anu, who actually came and seeded and bred and created hybrid us. That's who we are. We are a hybrid of basically like Neanderthal or whatever. Cro-Magnon man, your dick and nose man, and alien.
Isn't an alien?
Yeah, well, yeah, and another worlder.
Oh,
another star.
See, now,
the Anunnaki.
Now we're getting into that whole Scientology conversation.
That's not Scientology. I don't know the Scientology story that well, but
right.
Yeah,
I had somebody tell me that what we were talking about the other day sounded Scientology.
I know it's not, but it's not. It's really common. I was talking about.
I know where it is.
The deep state, and I was talking about the cabal. It's actually.
I could
pretty
never
well
afford to be a Scientologist.
No, you
that
can't.
That was it.
Yeah.
I failed at that. The courses were too expensive, right?
Mm-hmm. It's like $5,000 just to get confirmed or whatever.
Yeah. And all my dirty secrets were just also too much of an open page anyway.
You know
Right.
what's creepy? One of the rituals, a friend of mine who was a Scientologist, they do some kind of sauna or like some hot house kind of thing, or what do they call that in Native?
Ayahuasca thing.
Well, they
I of
sweat.
course think about the drugs.
It's not drugs because
No,
they're
I know.
really
They do the
opposed to
sweat
drugs.
lodge stuff.
A sweat lodge. That's what I was
Yeah.
trying to say. They do a sweat lodge thing, and so this person I know who is a Scientologist, she said when she was doing it, you can see all of these everything come out of your body. So she was watching her body, and all of the sunburns that she had gotten were surfacing and coming out of her body, and her skin was changing, and all of. And I was like,
Yeah.
"Are you sure you weren't flush?"
Fact.
Or
Yeah,
she was-
You're in a super hot room.
Yeah, she may have been-
Surprise! It feels like a sunburn.
She may she may have been experiencing. Maybe she was
Like
experiencing.
I remembered
other
having fever as a
timelines.
baby.
Maybe she was experiencing other
Then I got
timelines, and they were
shot
important
through
to
a
her.
wet hole, and I remembered birth.
Well, yeah, I think that's possible. I do think it's possible.
I think it's possible to have past life regressive stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
not if you physically make that happen in the room. Then you're not really experiencing a past life thing. You're experiencing it.
She could be blurring timelines, and so she was experiencing it physically, and she was hopping to different timelines where it was physically occurring, and so that was her experience.
I think that like this time of year, the fall, like fall right now, like brings me like first of all, smells, everything gets super more I don't know,
Aromatic.
aromatic, and stuff like
Spicy.
that, which is for me very sensory, and I start to remember a lot of stuff. So, and it's you go into this introspective time, and in the summer, especially in LA, because we live in the desert, it's hot. You just are in this it's easier to be in the moment.
Active, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between East Coast and West Coast, honestly, or warm climate, cold climate.
What do they do in
We're
the West?
able to
I mean, the
be.
East.
It's you can be more introspective when it's even when it's hot. I don't know what it is about the moisture or like the cool. Like the minute it gets cool and you sort of start thinking and feeling a lot more. When it's sunny and beautiful and you're walking around, or especially hot, you're just kind of like in it.
Life.
Yeah. It's like beachy.
So you're saying on the East Coast or where
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
not
like we're
quite
talking
as
about it being
warm.
fall right now, but it's in like 90 today here in LA.
Yeah, it's true,
Right, so it's like, ooh.
but it's still shifted. Like the
It
energy
has,
shifted,
definitely.
the aroma shifted. Even the way the sun feels is different.
Yeah, no,
even
totally.
even though
and
it's
then
warm.
it gets dark earlier.
Yes, and then we have our stupid time change coming up.
I have the first year ever in, I'd say, 23 years that I don't have a kid trick-or-treating.
Oh,
I know. I have a paradigm shift happening.
so
That's it. I
last year
got
they
candy and masks and stuff because my kids are going out to sort of maraud, but they're not going to trick
to be
or treat.
slutty. Yeah,
Ugh.
yeah. It's like
So
from
gross.
candy to sluttiness.
Yeah.
But
right?
even when I
Hopefully
was
not too slutty.
but
I
there's-
don't even want to see.
But there's a little crossover there too, because I remember being 11 and 12 and still trick or treating, and it was a sexy time.
Oh yeah.
yeah, you were
let's
just
have
allowed
make
to-
out and stuff like that.
Oh, I didn't do any of it, but you just expected it, and none of it happened.
I think the last time I trick or treated till I was 13. My oldest kid went till he was like 16. Not as
That's called
dedicated.
robbery.
Yeah, right. I think it's cool.
Came back with
we had a
televisions.
lady on our street that used to give candy canes to teenagers.
Oh.
She'd be like, "You're old, and so's this candy."
Ew.
So she gave
Whoa.
old candy canes from Christmas, which she kept, and gave to kids that came late and old.
To stick it to
Yeah,
them.
she was like, "Get out of here, you brats."
Was she witch?
She was a total witch. I never will forget it. There was other people. Remember apples?
Yeah, I mean, apples still exist.
They do? They still have those? Razor blade apples?
Oh, yeah, that was a thing.
I
Well,
got egged as a kid.
I egged.
Oh,
I
I
and
egged too.
TP'd. Oh, TPing was so fun.
Good times.
It was so
My
so
town
much
was a
fun.
blast. Me and my sisters, who were sugar junkies, we cut a wide swath through our town. I mean, like we broke it down. We were like UPS drivers. We came home with buckets of candy because my mom was a total hippie. We had no sugar in the house, so like me and my sisters, we were a street team. Like we hauled ass. There was no chit chat. We didn't have time for shenanigans or TPing. We were on the fix, like to get that candy.
Dear Johnson.
Yeah. I had like a Santa.
It was like your
bag.
Rumspringa for,
Yeah.
for
Costume was
candy.
just really incidental.
Yeah.
And then we'd like switch
Put like
it out.
duct tape on your
switch
face.
it
I
out
don't
to
know.
a different mask and then go do the loop again. Like double up. Like it was all intense. And we had like radio signals happening, yelling through the like street to street of who had good candy.
Sonar.
Yeah, to like
something
yeah,
like
like like thing to tell you that like 468 Maple Street had like Kit Kat full-size bars.
Oh God, that's so sad. My sisters are all significantly older than I am, so I didn't actually do anything with them. It was always with friends. Why? No, it's okay.
Yeah, I know.
It's like being.
I know. I probably didn't go with my sisters after I was 5 or 6. Like
Yeah.
they ditched me immediately, I'm sure.
Well, my sisters are old enough that they ditched that I never because they were like already hanging out with their friends by the time I was conscious.
I remember there was a brief minute when the kids were little, when Zane was little, that Halloween was going away. Everybody had decided it was unsafe, and it was going away. This was the 90s.
It does that every now and again.
And it was like, it's over, and everybody was doing the malls.
Oh,
It was
that's
horrible.
depressing.
And we lived in the Hollywood Hills, and it was a neighborhood that did it up in Beechwood, and we lived up there in Beechwood.
and why would the mall be safer?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because all of the employees are basically nuns and
It was going
priests,
away,
and
and
they're all
then the
pure.
parents, like parents, my generation of parents, were like, "No, this is not happening. We're taking and everybody went back out. Everybody's neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool, like during that 5-year period, but it was really dwindling. Like people had stopped,
Mm-hmm.
and there was like news were covering how Halloween would be a thing of the past, and kids wouldn't even know what it was 10 years later, and it's certainly not the case.
One church that I went
Hold on
to.
to Halloween.
One church that I went to would do like a holy house on Halloween and spend like a whole sermon talking about
Jesus.
how it's the devil's holiday and it's all about hell and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, well, I wasn't thinking about hell.
Did they give out candy?
I don't remember. It was inside the church and it was,
That's
I don't know, it was like Bible verse stations and yeah. And
Why?
everyone-
I thought that hell and brimstone shit was like the cornerstone of Christian beliefs, like in order to keep everybody in line. Why would they want to knock that around?
well, they were just,
Don't celebrate.
yeah, they were saying don't celebrate it.
Yeah.
Come here and have a whole holy house or something like that. Instead of going out to the hell celebration, the satanic ritual, the devil is out there and you're just celebrating
It is
the devil.
definitely a dark. I mean, it is celebrating the dark side of.
I don't think so. I don't need to see it that
there's
way.
like tons of first of all, there's
Remembering your-
8,000 Jasons on the corner right now. Axe murderers and chainsaw massacre guys.
And
That
Jason's a pretty common name too. There's probably 8,000 Jasons.
Hollywood Boulevard is shut down, and I'm working at a place on Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh.
And so it is just a shit show of both really armed people and then fake armed people. So the poor cops are like going down that street, and it's just usually also hookers and guys with guns, right?
And so there's
now it's just like
fake
suburban
hookers.
kids with fake hookers and guns.
Yeah.
So the poor cops are trying to discern
arresting
who's
everyone.
dressed like a hooker and who's a real hooker, wwho's dressed like a gangster,
murderer.
who's a real gangster, who's dressed like a drug dealer. That's a cool costume in a drug dealer neighborhood. Like they should come as the Christian folks with the books, and they should walk Hollywood Boulevard dressed as Jehovah's Witnesses.
Who? The cops?
The kids.
Oh,
That would be the funniest costume.
everybody.
Be like,
they wouldn't get any candy then. Everybody would be avoiding them.
I don't know if they give candy on Hollywood. But there's a parade.
Oh gosh.
It's a shit.
How?
show.
Okay, so what's the difference between that and the gay pride parade?
Oh,
Because you've worked in both.
Yeah, I have worked in both. Well, the Halloween parade, there's a parade in Hollywood too.
Mm-hmm.
That's the West Hollywood parade, Halloween parade is first of all, it's just all guys dressed like whores.
Well, yeah, and but they're probably not doing Jason. They're doing sexy things.
Yes,
Right?
all sexy.
So that's what I'm
it's just
saying.
the
I imagine it
same
looks
chicks.
very similar.
Same chicks, different block. Same story. Same exact story.
That's
same
what I'm saying.
fishnecks, same heels, all tiny boy shorts, like thingamajig, skin, glitter situation, the least amount of clothes possible.
Right.
Although the Halloween doesn't differentiate from every other weekend in West Hollywood, really, except for there's some masks
Right.
outside.
There's a lot more. There's a different kind of a lot more makeup.
Yeah, but it is just like Hollywood Boulevard, just with sorority girls. It's an excuse to get slutty.
We actually have another clip from our jaunt yesterday, our tour. It's a beautiful place.
Why
there are all
didn't you
kinds
pick
of
up clips of slutty chicks online? That
Kurt,
would've
yeah,
been
Kurt.
great. Come on, Kurt. Get back, get in the game.
He doesn't know how to.
Slut.
He doesn't know how to look that
slut.
up. He's very sweet,
You're
like
flashing
me.
photos.
All right, let's.
You just kind of walk around until you feel one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't always go to cemetery. I rarely go to cemeteries without my family are planted in.
What is your grandmother's name again? Your guide?
Kay.
Kay, that's right. But who's Mary? I remember one time when we were connecting with your spirit guide, and it was Mary. Was that Mother
That's
Mary?
her sister.
Oh, well, look, here's Mary. our true mother.
Yeah. Look at that.
And
my Aunt Mary
I was drawn to it because
was a big force in my grandmother's life and therefore mine, but not a big part of my life. She was like really old by the time I was a kid. But she seems like she was around a lot.
Your great aunt?
Yeah, my great aunt, my grandmother's sister, and she sort of took care of my grandmother most of her life, so she would have taken care of me.
I'm like, there's really truth to the veil being thinned at this time around Halloween, because everybody is expecting it to, and everybody's like awareness has been drawn to. Because my psychic senses have been so crazy sharp since, like, I don't know, the last week. It always is.
Yeah.
But I usually kind of just consciously tune it out when I want to be really left-brained. But like right now, when you were just talking, there are all kinds of things flooding in right now. All of the similarities, the fact that you point to a grave that has the same first name as one of my spirit guides, who's my great grandmother, and that's your great aunt, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, that isn't your great aunt. That's the name of your great aunt, who we connected with once.
And this is Tyrone Power, 50s, 40s, 50s, 30s, maybe Hollywood actor. This was a pretty, and there in the center is just some zillionaire's tomb, and there's one guy buried in there.
And that is a big mausoleum or something? Oh my gosh. And do you know who it is?
No, I don't. Over there is Jane Mansfield, and I don't know who this DeVito guy is. I don't know if there's any
Geraldo
relation.
Anthony DeVito.
Oh.
It has a name. I mean, it has a picture.
There's a lot of
Duckies.
Chris
Goofies.
Cornell's over there with all the flowers. Yeah,
I wanna
and
go
Johnny
see Chris.
Ramone. Let's go check him out.
Yeah, that was
fun.
Really beautiful. It was really fun. It felt great. I encourage you guys to go check out a cemetery. Does the energy
Today
feel
feels like it.
creepy to you at night or anything? Do you ever visit them at night? Cemeteries?
I really threw a party in there at night.
Do you need a permit or a permission to do that?
Yeah. They rent it out for parties.
Oh.
And I really threw one in there, like in the middle of it. In the middle of it at night, and it's super creepy. And we like poured a bottle on Johnny Ramone's grave, all this kind of stuff. I think a lot of people do that. I don't think that cemeteries are creepy, but I did spend a lot of time in them as a kid and stuff. So I don't have that same kind of woo.
But does it feel different to you at night? Because I've never visited one at night.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? We know what happened yesterday after we finished. Then I got to my car and my battery was dead.
Yeah.
Which and Tricia was like blindly almost ran me over while I was trying to flag her down. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but do you understand? I did not see you because do you understand how many men are trying to flag me down on the street every day?
Oh, it's exhausting.
I'll tell you. Also, the training of being a bartender.
I did have my dick in my hand too. That was weird.
Do you know being a bartender trains you to not pay any attention to people flagging you down? I would never have made one single cocktail.
She's dialing her phone. She's
I was
talking
on the
phone,
yeah.
and she's driving by me. My car has just not started. And I'm like, there's Trish, no big deal. I'll just wave to her. I'll call AAA, but I'll wave her down anyway because I'm like super tired, hungry, and my phone's dying because we just videoed with my phone, right? So my phone's dying. I have like 1%. And I'm like, I might not make this call. She literally, like, I'm inches from her window.
I doubt it.
And she's like going past me, and I'm like, Tricia, I almost hit her window.
No, I think that's...
The people next to me were like, wow, that was like, they probably thought we broke up there. It's like she just ghosted me. She ghosted me at the cemetery. So anyway, I'm sitting there waiting for now I got to wait 20 minutes. I get one last call out to AAA.
Yeah.
And it was because I had gone to the car and charged the phone or whatever and left the light on inside there, whatever. So the guy shows up. But before the guy shows up, and it wasn't long at all. Weirdly, the guy who was the tow truck guy was like, I come here all the time on my break and nap. I love this place.
Oh, nice.
It's a popular, evidently, like landing spot.
Oh.
And I was like, me too. I love this place. I go here all the time. But I got kind of creeped out.
By him?
No, before he got there, I had to sit for like 20 minutes, and I was having this really negative energy. Somebody was like really sort of like ghostbustering me, glomming me.
Ghosts they were sliming on you?
I felt a negative energy force.
Do you think it was a person living, someone who was creeping around there, or you think it was a spirit?
It was a spirit.
Oh, interesting.
It was some kind of energy, and I was like, what is happening right now? I don't really care about the car not starting, but I was getting super panicky, and I almost left.
Wow.
Yeah. Like a weird, irrational anxiety.
Yeah, that's okay. That does feel like an attachment. But what did you do? Did you just raise your vibration?
I
just
tried to, and I
yeah.
had remembered something you had said something about, like, just like, no, when you walk by a vampire or something.
Oh, right.
And I just internally was like, no. Like, it was an attachment.
Yeah.
It felt very palpable.
Yeah.
And it was super dark and
Acknowledging and refusing it, and you're good.
angry.
You just
I think
run.
it might have just been me pissed off of a thing, but I wasn't that pissed about the thing. I was laughing about you folding and being like, feet don't fail me now. You're on your own, fucker. Then you became like an old black man.
And then I got his text.
You own your own.
I got his text 30 minutes later, and I was like, what? And then I came back. And he was
I
gone.
know, it was
He
so
did not
sweet.
let
And
me
then
off the
I guilted
hook.
her anyway. That was beautiful Irish guilt happening. I was like, what did I say? Something about I guilted you for not seeing me.
Yes, right.
She came all the way back, which was so sweet, which was twice as good as you actually coming back and being of any value.
Because I wouldn't have, you had to call AAA anyway.
AAA worked out. The only reason I was trying to stop you was because I was like, my phone's not going to work.
In case my phone,
I'm
I know,
stuck
I got
in here.
it.
I had to go.
Exactly.
I bought almonds out of the vending machine.
Well, I was imagining you like sitting there with your phone plugged in somewhere, hoping that it would charge back up, or trying to find something, Anyway, so that's why I was coming back. And the thing is, I did check in. I was like, is he okay? And I really felt like you were okay. But I thought however long it was going to take me to find out that you were okay, I was going to feel like crap. And so I was like, I'll just go.
That is so sweet. I really meant it when I said like, oh, it's just twice as good. I was already long gone and having lunch down at Larchmont.
Exactly.
I was like having
He was
a really
halfway
great
through.
lunch.
I was starving. I was cramming almonds in my
I
mouth.
was so hungry yesterday.
Well, we are actually about out of time now.
We had basically it was like having a film strip today because we had a video.
Yeah.
We should always have a video.
So that you can take a nap for a few seconds.
So I can just be like,
I think we did a good job. Oh, finally, one last thing that about Halloween. So since it is considered that the veil is thin and that spirits are around, then people, the costume thing, you know what that is about. The costume is people disguise themselves so that they can't be seen by the dark spirits. Because All Hallows Eve is when the bad spirits are around, and then All Souls Day is when the good spirits are around.
So you're
That's
sort of
the
like
lore.
decoying, like at an Eyes Wide Shut party.
Right, exactly.
Same idea.
Yes.
Because you definitely don't want people to know who you are at those.
No, you don't.
Right? Park around the corner and wear that mask.
Yes, that creepy
Just
bird
saying.
mask or whatever it is.
The bird mask.
Well, this
Maybe
was
I'll
really
do that
fun,
this
though.
year. Thank you.
This was really fun. Thank you, Aidan, for your expertise. Seriously, he just, did you see that video? He was just rapping. That was just all in him right now. He didn't prepare
Did not
that.
even remember that until we got there. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, I know all about this.
know all
place.
about the things. And but it was super fun. Thanks, you guys. Have a safe and happy Halloween, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.